You might have heard about OpenClaw and how it acts as your personal AI assistant. But for IoT scenarios, this is an overkill due to its need of more than 1 GB of RAM requirement and heavy operations. For IoT scenarios, we can use PicoClaw, which is alternative version of OpenClaw with ultra lightweight runtime, which is written in Go language. So you can see the memory usage is less than 10 MB and startup time is just 1 second. So in this video, we are going to learn how to use PicoClaw with our IoT sensors and actuators. We are going to build a home alarm system and use Telegram messaging to get updates and control the alarm system. So stay tuned until the end of this video to understand the complete flow. So first, let's start about the flow diagram. So here you can see the Telegram messenger is the primary thing that we are going to use. So we'll be using the chatbot that it has. So we'll be sending some messages like start the alarm system, stop the alarm system, and find the status. Everything can be sent to the PicoClaw, and PicoClaw will speak to the LLM, and the LLMs can run locally, or you can use some free LLMs that are available. I'll show you how to use them, and then try to find the answers and run certain scripts that we have mentioned, so that we can start the alarm system and stop the alarm system and then get back the response and send it to the user. Since we are using Raspberry Pi 02W in this, we want to flash the Pi OS onto it. So first you need to plug your SD card with SD card reader, and you need to install Raspberry Pi Imager. So once you open this, it would be looking like this. You can go to the version that you want to select the device. So we are using Raspberry Pi 02W, click on it, click on next. So you need to select Raspberry Pi OS other, so that we can use the OS Lite version, which is less than, we can say, 500 MB. So I'll be using 64-bit for that, and we'll be having enough space for the LLM and other software that we are going to use. So click on next, and you need to select the SD card that you have and click on next. Next, you need to customize your host name. You can keep Raspberry Pi as a default one, and then provide all the details like keyboard layout, time zone, and the capital city, and then what is the username password that you want to put. So username by default I could keep it as Pi, and password I have already mentioned, so it is saved and hidden. You can just skip, and for you can use your SSID and password that you have, that you need to connect to Wi-Fi. Click on next, and then enable SSH as well using password authentication for the first time. And then if you want to enable this Raspberry Pi Connect, you can enable and save the token as well, and click on next and click on write. So I have already done it, so I'll skip this part. So now I can remove my SD card reader and place my SD card onto the Raspberry Pi 02W. So once you have placed your SD card onto 02W, you can start the power supply so that Raspberry Pi will be booting, and you can use your command prompt and you can SSH into the Raspberry Pi. So I'll simply use SSH, username is Pi, so Raspberry Pi.local. So if you don't know the exact IP address, you can simply use this so that it will connect to that. So you can see for the first time it may ask you yes or no to accept the certificate, and then it will say like this to provide the password. And the next thing that you need to do is you need to connect the hardware to the Raspberry Pi. So what we are going to use is a buzzer, that is active buzzer, one LED, another PIR motion sensor. So what we can do is we can use the connections in this manner. So we are using these color coding, and for each of them we have different connection maps. So you can use this diagram and connect it with your breadboard and jumper wires. You can also refer to the GPIO pins of this Raspberry Pi 02W, and this is how it looks for the pin out of PIR sensors, and this is how you need to connect to the LED with resistor, and buzzer also has this positive and negative. So finally you can use this diagram to complete the hardware circuit diagram. So once the circuit diagram is completed, you can go back to the Raspberry Pi, and you need to first update its repository. You can use to install Python 3, pip, and we use rpy.gpio, git, curl and request. So these are the libraries that we need to run the code. And the next thing is we need to use this tilde symbol to get into the root folder. So we are right now into that folder, and then we use something called wget to download this tarball file, which will download the PicoClaw. And here I'm using the current version, that is 0.1.2. So what you can do is you can use this URL and go to the releases folder and find whichever is available. So you can see 17 hours ago there is 0.2.0 available. So I can simply use that instead of 1.2. So while installing this latest version, that is 0.2.0 of PicoClaw, I was getting some errors. So that's why I started again revoking everything and started using 0.1.2, which is the stable previous version. So I'll just use that and download, and I'll try to extract this and provide the executable permissions and onboard this. So now you have onboarded, you can just edit the config.json. So here you need to provide open router, and here you can provide the model full name. So go to that openrouter.ai and log in with your free accounts. So once you log in, you can see this home page, and you need to click on explore models. And here you can select input modalities text, output as text, and the pricing you can keep it as free. So once you've done that, you can simply search for some of the models like Quen. So I have previously used Quen, and you can use any of the Quen model. So here you can see this is free model, and here also you can see it is $0 per million input tokens, and you need to search like this. So keep this in mind that it should be $0, so you can use that. So when I previously used, I was getting some error with these models, but when I use this model, I was able to get it. So if I tap here, I can copy this model name and paste it in my notepad. So this is the model I am going to use, and if you come down, you should be able to see providers in this version. In the providers, you need to provide API key and API base. So you need to go to your account. So in the open router, click on settings. So under the settings, you can see there is an API keys. So you need to create an API key and type something called a chatbot API key. And if you want to provide any credit limit, you can provide like $1 or $2, but doesn't matter because we are going to use the free versions. But still I'll use something like that, and then create, and then you'll get one API key. We need to copy this and save it in your notepad because you cannot see this again. You need to provide API key, and in the API base you need to provide the URL. Then you need to go back and search for Telegram, provide as true. You need to provide your token. So you need to get this token from your Telegram. So for that, we'll have to open our mobile phone and Telegram application. So you can now see this is the Telegram channel. So first thing you need to do is use @bot father. So you'll be able to see this bot father. So this will create a new bot for us. So we need to create this new bot. So click on start, and you can see the first one is new bot. So click on that. So what is the name that we want to give? So you can provide like IoT Frontier bot, and then they will ask the username for that. So I'll provide IoT Frontier bot. So it should be ending with bot also. So now you can see the bot has been created, and the token will be generated and shown in this message. So you need to copy this and then paste it in your notepad as well as in your config.json. So once the bot is created and the token is created, you need to again search for user info bot. So this is the user info bot, and click on start, so that you need to get your user ID in the numbers. So you can see the ID mentioned in the second tab, and from the allow from you need to provide the details, so that this is your user ID from which you can only send the messages. And another important thing is you need to make this workspace, restrict to workspace as false. Now save this. Let's try to start by using gateway. So you can click on this gateway and you can see this is ready and available. And you can also see the LLM response without tool calls that heartbeat is okay, which means this is working. So I was getting some error with the latest version, that is 0.2.0. So with this 0.1.2 version of PicoClaw, I don't see error. So now this is working properly. So now we can stop this. Now we'll try to create the Python script. So for that, you can just create the workspace with scripts folder. And once you create that, so you need to create your Python file using this nano command. So here you need to paste the code. So this is the code where I'm just importing the important GPIO time and request. So here you can see the PIR and everything, the pin configuration of GPIO. And here I need to provide the bot token and the chat ID. So once this is done, you can see we are simply using send telegram message with the chat ID, and we are going to send the PIR alarm is running or not, those kind of messages. So here you can see the motion event is detected. It will create a buzzer sound of 0.3 seconds and LED will also be turning on. So now you can control X, Y and enter so that it will be saved. You can simply run this by using Python for now to test. So now the testing is done. We can see the motion event detected and buzzer also came. So I'll use Ctrl C to stop this first, and then we'll have to provide the prompt to the agent to behave like an agent. So for PicoClaw, we have this agents.md file. So you need to open that and provide your skill. So this is the skill of the room god. We are saying that it is an assistant that controls PIR based alarm on Raspberry Pi 02W. These are its skills. So we have to provide the location from where it has to run and using which tool. We are also giving some extra information that this script will run these kind of things and it will send a telegram message and beep, this kind of information, and to stop what we have to do, and then the constraints, like we have to run only inside the workspace. You can use save, Control X and Y, enter. So now the MD file is created, which means the agent knows what it needs to be done. Now what I can do is, again I can start the gateway. So we can see the heartbeat is okay. So now you can go back to the bot further that you had created, and the bot will be available here. So the link you can see here. So you can just open that link and the IoT Frontier bot will be opened. You need to click on start. So when you click on start, you can see immediately I am PicoClaw, which means that this has connected to your system that is available on your Raspberry Pi 02W. So next we can simply type start the alarm system. So now if you see, there are some messages that are getting started. The tool execution is started. So we can see even our message like start the alarm system is shown here. And now we got a message from our code that PIR alarms is started. I can put my hand in front of this sensor and you can see the LED as well as buzzer started, and immediately the message also is appeared on the telegram. Now what I can do is I'll just try to stop the system. So the stop is not being able to detect here. So just we'll try to modify something in the agent.md file. So to make this properly responsive, what I have done is I've used the script to run this alarm in a background, not in the foreground, so that you can use this command so that it will be running in the background and putting the logs into this file, and then it will not block for answering the questions and immediately confirming your response. So this is how I mentioned, and also it will stop and then confirm alarm is stopped, and then for checking the status it will use these commands, and then also the recent logs can be found, and then you give some constraints to immediately send the confirmation without waiting. So now I'll save this and run this. From the chatbot, I'll just start again. So I'll click on type start, and it will do the start command. So you can see the tool execution is completed, and you see the message also available here. And also you see a message of alarm started and monitoring is active and motion is detected. We also get some time, and we can just stop it, or we can type status and logs. I'll try to check this, what happens. So it is not able to detect both of them, so I'll just use status for now. And you can see before that it has given logs also, so it has detected something, and we get to see these logs sending to us. So this is running, but this is kind of slow because we are using the open LLM, which is free. That's why. So you can see the status, the PIDs, as well as how it is active and those things. Then we can click on stop. So you can see now the alarm is stopped. Now, whatever the configuration that we have right now is not restart friendly, which means that if you restart the system, you have to manually start the gateway. So to make it production friendly, so what we can do is you can simply go to the systemd file, system, and create this PicoClaw service. So enter that, and here you need to provide the details. So here you can see unit PicoClaw gateway, from which location it has to run. We restart. Whenever it gets restarted, we need to start it again, and this is how we want to make it as a service. So next, so we need to save this, and then we need to use systemctl enable this service, and we also need to start this PicoClaw service. Now we can use pgrep pico, and we can see the PicoClaw is running properly. And that's all for this video. This is how you can use PicoClaw with Raspberry Pi 02W as personal AI assistant for your IoT system. If you found this video informative, please type helpful and smash that like button. If you wanted to learn IoT from scratch, then you can check out my course on Udemy from the link in the end screen and description. Your support means a lot to us and helps us keep creating more content like this. So please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another interesting video.